When will that day come when the fair-skinned foreigners travel to Mayapur Dham to join with the Bengali Vaishnavas to chant Jaya Satchinandana, Jaya Satchinandana, Jaya Satchinandana. So then, the same year as Prabhupada appeared, 1896, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he published this book, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, His Life and Precepts. And there on page 62, he is speaking about the future church of the world based on kirtan that will unite actually all religions. So you can see here, the principle of kirtan as a future church of the world invite all classes of men without distinction of caste, creed, or clan to the highest cultivation of the spirit. This church will extend all over the world and they take the place of all sectarian churches which exclude outsiders from the areas of their mosque, church, and temple. So this book, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is sent to several universities, like the McGill University in Montreal in Canada, as you see here on the photo, and also to the Oxford University and to the Munich University. So I will show you now a letter that Bhaktivinoda Thakur he wrote to the secretary at the university library in Munich. And this was just 40 days after Prabhupada appeared. Prabhupada appeared on the 1st of September. And this letter, as you can see here, the envelope, it was written on the 11th of October, 1896. So now you can see also the letter itself. So I will read for you. Dear Sir, I forward by this mail a copy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, His Life and Precepts. So he sent a book along with this letter. A work on Hindu philosophy in English and Sanskrit, and I should deem it a favor if you consider this as an humble and respectful presentation in your library. I shall be much obliged if you kindly acknowledge the receipt of the book and kindly send me a copy of your rules and regulations of obtaining the degrees of your university, together with a list of the members of your learned society. And then he signs it, I'm yours faithfully, Kedadar Dutt. So as we said, 1st of September, Prabhupada appeared, and his father's name was Gaur Mohan, and his mother's name was Rajani, and they gave him the name Abhay Charan. Here you see his home address, Harrison Road in Calcutta. You see here in the background, I just happened to find this on internet. It's Harrison Road, and it said it was from 1896. So it's interesting. Also, from the Prabhupada Lilamrita, we know that shortly after Prabhupada's appearance, there were a name-giving ceremony, and an astrologer was invited to make the chart, and we can see here, he said, when this child reached the age of 70, he would cross the ocean, become a great exponent of religion, and open 108 temples. So now this was an introduction, just something about a few predictions. And so now I would like to show you some, briefly describe some of the important events in Srila Prabhupada's life. So we start with his very young age. You can see this beautiful painting. His father Gaur Mohan together with Abhay Charan. So as we know, his father, Gaur Mohan, he was a cloth merchant. He had a shop downtown Calcutta. So in this way, he maintained the family. But Prabhupada many times said that actually Gaur Mohan's real business was puja. His heart was into puja. And also across the street, there were the Radha Govinda temple. Actually, the family had maintained that worship for 150 years. So every morning, Abai and his parents, the family, they went across the street and they brought cooked rice, kachoris, vegetables, and like that. And it was offered to Radha Govinda. And then also the family distributed this prasadam to the guests who were arriving in the morning. So that was their wonderful culture. And Prabhupada himself said that he was so attached to these Radha Govinda deities. He said, for hours I could just stand there and watch, take darshan of the deities. And they were so beautiful. So there is one very nice quote from Prabhupada's remembrance when his father came home in the evening. It's there in the Prabhupada Lamrita, you can see here. We would be sleeping, and father would be doing arati. Ding, ding, ding. We would hear the bell and wake up and see him bowing down before Krishna. So these are, as we call samskaras. You see the example of the parents, and it gives very deep impression like that. So when Abai was 4 years old, he, because of his seeing the worship going on at home and across the street, he wanted to have his own deities. So he humbly asked his father, "Can I have my own deities?" And Gaur Mohan was more than happy to give him that. And so I would like now to show you a short film clip. It's just a little more than 1 minute long. It's describing this particular time when Srila Prabhupada appeared in Calcutta. It was, like it said, a crown jewel of the British Empire, Calcutta, during this time. And also it's described how Prabhupada was very fond of Ratha Yatra, became very interested and attached to Ratha Yatra. So this is from a film, Your Ever Well-Wisher. It was produced in 1980, or in 92, 82. So, but I show you this short part here. So you can see and hear now.
Calcutta, 1896, the capital of India, the crown jewel of the British Empire, an elegant city of wide avenues and spacious parks. It is here that Aboy Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami is born. A pure devotee of Krishna from birth, Aboy Charan is raised in a well-to-do mercantile family. From infancy, he goes with his father to the Radha Krishna temple, and at age 4, the child spontaneously begins worshipping similar deities in his home. When Aboy Charan hears of Ratha Yatra, a traditional festival in honor of Lord Krishna, it further inspires his natural devotion. With his father's help, every year he holds his own small celebration, drawing the neighborhood children into the festivities.
So I will show you now a beautiful painting. When Prabhupada, you heard about Ratha Yatra, as we heard and saw here, he wanted to organize his own Ratha Yatra. And you can see here this painting, how he engaged his friends, his mother, his father, the neighbors, and they had an 8-day festival. Every day, walking around the block, Harinam Sankirtan, prasadam distribution, they were cooking, all the mothers around the block, fully engaged in cooking, and Prabhupada was a driving force behind it, as a little child. So when we know how later on in the 1970s or in the end of the 60s, he established, introduced Ratha Yatra all around the world, it was here it started. So now we move a little ahead. In 1916, Prabhupada entered the Scottish Church's College for education in Calcutta. And 1918, he was married. 1920, he got his first child, a son. And 1922, it was like the real turning point in his life. Do you know what happened then?
He met his guru.
Very good. And I have this painting. It was at the first temple of the Gaudiya Math, Uttadanga Junction Road in Calcutta. And you see here Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. Actually, this temple, it was called, you see, the Bhaktivinoda Asan. So the sitting place of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So as we know, Abai, or Prabhupada, he didn't want to go there. It was his nice, good friend, Narendranath Malik, who had met Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj a couple of times, and he was very impressed. He was very touched and inspired by hearing Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. So now he really wanted to hear the opinion from Abai. He had so much respect for Abai. So he wanted to hear from him, and Abai was not interested to go because he had some bad experience of sadhus. His father was very liberal, very kind-hearted, and he invited every day for lunch sadhus, or sometimes so-called sadhus, sometimes people who were not really spiritually interested, but more just had this lifestyle to get something to eat. So at a certain age, Prabhupada, he just saw through this, and he also became a follower of Gandhi. So at this time, he was not eager to see sadhus. But his friend, because of his enthusiasm and determination, he convinced him. And they went there. It was on the rooftop of this temple, Uttadanga Junction Road. And as soon as they just bowed down, offered their dandavats, obeisances to Maharaj, so then they had hardly risen to sit down, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj just gave this amazing direct order instruction. Why don't you take Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission and spread it to the English-speaking world? And immediately Abai, he was surprised but also impressed. And when he saw his way of speaking, the authority he was speaking with, his character, he was so serious, but at the same time he could feel this compassion from him, and he was just very, very impressed and attracted to him. But because being a follower of Gandhi, he felt obliged that he should put forward some arguments. Do you know which arguments he put forward? Well, he said that like any more or less Indian would have said the same thing at this time. We are a dependent country. We are under British rule. First, our first duty is to become free from the British rule. Then we can spread the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. So he just put forward this question, this doubt, and Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's answer was very clear. He said that it's too urgent. It cannot wait. It's not depending on the political situation in India. It's just, it has to be done now. So it was clear, and Prabhupada, he really liked the answer. He accepted it. He felt it's true. And so then the meeting ended, and they got a little prasadam, and then walked out into the street, and Narendranath Malik, he was so eager to know what was your impression, what do you think about him? And Prabhupada just expressed that I think Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is in the hand of a very qualified person. And Prabhupada later said, actually, I accepted him as my Guru Maharaj at that first meeting. So, so now, take a chair.
I've been sitting for hours in the train. So.
Okay. So next, we go forward now. It's next year. The Abai, his father, the family, they moved to Allahabad, traditionally known as Prayag. It was like a good location for business, but also one of the most holy places in India. So here you see the family photo with Abai sitting with his son, and to the left his wife, and then his father in the middle. On the right side of him is Prabhupada's sister. She had become a widow at this time. I think it's Abai's daughter in her knee, and behind is Abai's brother, and to the left, nephew. So Prabhupada's idea this time, he thought the most powerful way to fulfill the instruction of my Guru Maharaj was to earn a lot of money. He wanted to become rich. And he was very skilled in business, so he was traveling back and forth around India. So he was always thinking about his Guru Maharaj. You see this beautiful painting showing that although he was into business, so his heart was always thinking about his Guru Maharaj and how some or other, how he could fulfill that order. And Prabhupada many times later said, you can see the text here, I was always thinking that I had met a very nice saintly person. So that was his meditation. So now, 1933, 11 years after the first meeting with Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, Prabhupada got initiated at the Allahabad Gaudiya Math Temple. So it was 1933. And he got first and second initiation at the same time. And in the morning, it's interesting how the temple president there, Atulananda Brahmachari, he presented those who were going to be initiated in the afternoon for Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. He gave the lecture in the morning, and then there was going to be initiation in the afternoon. So he presented Abai and others, and when he came to Abai, then Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he made that comment, oh, I know him, he likes to hear, he is listening, he's hearing very nicely. So it happened a few times when Abai was able to come and hear Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. Prabhupada later said, I could not understand everything. It was deep philosophy, and his English was very sometimes aristocratic, so not so easy always to understand. But he said, I had so much attraction and faith in him, so I just wanted to hear. So, and Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he noticed that and he appreciated that. He could see he is very serious. He wants to hear. So that was his comment just before initiation. And then he received the name Abhay Charanaravinda Das. And he also got a special instruction at the time of the initiation. He asked him to study deeply Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, as Prabhupada later published as Nectar of Devotion in English, a work of Rupa Goswami about the science of Bhakti Yoga. So 2 years later, there were an important meeting. During this time, like we have now, Kartik, it was 1935 at Radhakund. It was in November. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was there with some disciples. And Abhay heard about it, and he was really wanted to go there and meet his Guru Maharaj more than ever before. So he managed to break free from duties, from business, and he came there with his son. And on the banks of the Radhakund, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he was telling Abhay many, one can say, confidential things. There was some problems in Gaudiya Math, and he was expressing his concern. He was sad about it that some of his leading disciples, they were quarreling. They were interested in position and prestige and like that. They were quarreling about position and rooms and like that. So he just told Abhay, one can say, opened his heart to him. And so he said that I would rather like to sell the marble of the temple and print books. That's the most powerful way for spreading Krishna consciousness. So then he told Prabhupada, if you ever get money, print books. So that was like a direct instruction. And when he got that instruction, Prabhupada later, he said it felt like an arrow entering his heart. Just, and he just completely took it to heart. And we can see practically that everything around his preaching mission was centered around distributing this knowledge, distributing these books, teaching these books, showing how to live according to the scriptures, like that. So, also later on when we come to Sweden, Prabhupada, that will be the end of the presentation when Prabhupada comes to Sweden. So he was so eager to see that there were published books in Sweden, and 2 books were published during Prabhupada's time in Swedish, and he was so happy. He blessed those who were involved in that. So now, 1 year later, after this meeting at Radhakund, it was in December 1936, at the Bagbasar temple in Calcutta, Sri Chaitanya Math. So Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's health was poor. And at this time, Abhay felt the great need of get some personal instructions from his Guru Maharaj. So he decided, I will write him a letter. And I want to read this letter. It's short now, and also the answer from Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. So Abhay, he wrote, you have got many disciples, and I'm one of them, but they are doing direct service to you. Some of them are brahmacharis, some of them are sannyasis, but I am a householder, I cannot. Sometimes I give monetary help, while I cannot give you direct service. And so now he ends the letter with a question, is there any particular service that I can do? 2 weeks later, he got a reply from Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, and he wrote, I'm fully confident that you can explain in English our philosophy, thoughts, and arguments. This will do much good to yourself as well as to your audience. I have every hope that you can turn yourself into a very good English preacher. So when he read this, he just immediately recognized the same instructions he got at the first meeting and 14 years before. And so now it was like no doubt in his mind what was actually his mission, the aim of his life. Shortly after this, 1 or 2 weeks later, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj left his world. You see here, the 1st of January 1937. And it was a very difficult time for Abai. He was, we can say, devastated. And but at the same time, he was so grateful that he wrote that letter and he got that reply just in time. It just meant everything for him. So he has read it again and again and again. So now we move ahead a little. 7 years later, now this was on Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj appearance day, 1944. So then Abai, he published the first issue of the magazine Back to Godhead. And he did everything himself. He did the writing, typing, editing, meeting the printer, and he was, with whatever money he had, he was mailing it out to respectable leaders around India and even abroad. So, and as we see here on the painting, how he took seat at tea stand, or he visited people's home, or he went office to office to distribute Back to Godhead. And later on, we will come to that later when Prabhupada published Srimad Bhagavatam, but he also distributed books, Srimad Bhagavatam. So just, we know how Prabhupada encouraged his disciples later on to distribute books, and he knew exactly how it was, how difficult it was to, like this, sit down with people who might not be interested, and the challenges around that kind of service. So he so much appreciated those who went out to distribute his book later on, because he did it himself. And here now started with a magazine. So then, 12 years later, we move a little ahead. Prabhupada got one dream fulfilled, long cherished dream. It was in 1956. Do someone maybe know what happened then? It was, he was able to move to Vrindavan Dham. And first there he lived at the Vamshi Gopalaji temple. And so he was very happy. You can read about it in Prabhupada Lilamrita. It's so wonderful to read about his way of life. He was writing and completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Every morning visiting all the temples in Vrindavan, cooking for himself, living such a simple, humble life.
But he left his family for Vanaprastha.
Yes, I didn't mention this now. That could be mentioned. Yes. When you say it now, I should put it in. Thank you. So he, at a particular point, he took, as we call it, Vanaprastha from his family. He left his family. So now he lived there alone. And 3 years later, 1959, in Mathura, he took sannyas. As you see here, the Keshavaji Gaudiya Math temple in Calcutta. It was September 17th, 1959. And his sannyas guru was, you see there in the middle, sitting down, Bhakti Pragya Keshava Maharaj. And it's interesting also, the sannyasi to the left is Muni Maharaj, and he was, sorry, I go back there. So he was actually 19 years old, Muni Maharaj, when he took sannyas. Srila Prabhupada's godbrother.
90.
90.
Oh.
Oh, I thought you said 19.
19, no, 90.
Doesn't look like 19.
Yeah, 90.
Wow.
And actually, it's interesting with this date. You see here, September 17th. It is that date when Srila Prabhupada arrived at Boston after traveling with Jaladuta from India. Same date. So it's exactly now, 6 years later, he came to America. I just noticed that now. So also, the same year, 1959, Prabhupada moved to the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan Dham. And he continued to publish articles. He was writing constantly, contacting leaders, politicians, and scholars, tried to preach in different ways. But then something happened that also was a change in his life. He had a friend who was a librarian. And he just said, it seems like by the way one day, that the culture of magazine is people many times takes it cheaply. He referring to Back to Goddard, the magazine. So they might read it, but then also many times they just throw it away. So he said, I think it would be good for you to also publish books. And when he said that, Abba, he felt it was like his Guru Maharaj was speaking through that friend, the librarian. He just said, yes. Like I think we all have some kind of experience like that, that someone says something to us at a particular moment in life, and we just think, oh, yes, this is some instruction which is some higher arrangement behind. So this happened like this. And then Prabhupada, he started to translate Srimad Bhagavatam. And in Vrindavan, but regularly he went to New Delhi to deal with the printer. So he started in 1960 to translate Srimad Bhagavatam. And so actually he started to print 62, the first volume of the first canto. And in 3 years, you see here, 62 to 65, he managed to publish all 3 volumes in the first canto. So there was this important meeting with the Prime Minister, Lal Bahadur Shastri, at the Parliament building. He was giving also Srimad Bhagavatam as a gift, and the Prime Minister very much appreciated Srila Prabhupada's work, and he recommended it for libraries around India. So now when he had the 3rd volume published, he felt himself ready. And the 3rd volume, actually, it was sponsored by, do you know whom?
The woman that owned the ship.
Very good.
I don't know her name.
Yeah. So it was sponsored by a very powerful woman, Srimati Sumati Murarji. And so, very pious lady, devotee of Lord Krishna. And actually, she was married at an early age, and her husband was, what do you call it? From his father had got this shipping company. It was very small company. But it showed very early that she was a very competent lady, very good in managing, very good in business. So already at 14 years age, she became a part of the board there in the shipping company, and gradually she got more and more responsibilities. So in 1946, she became the chief manager, and that meant they had she had 6,000 people working under her. They had 42 ships in the company. Actually, it grew into India's largest ship company, like that. So, special lady. And so she so much appreciated Srila Prabhupada. So now he came to her and he asked for a ticket to America. She was very motherly, and she knew the hardship of going across to US with boats. So she said, no, it's not recommended in your age. You should go there. You should just stay here and preach. You are so successful in what you are doing. But he was so determined and so eager, and so also charming, transcendentally charming her. So she accepted it after some time. So now on the 13th of August 1965, Prabhupada boarded Jaladuta at King George Dockyards in Calcutta. And we have this painting here. So when Prabhupada boarded now the ship, actually it had been 43 years from when he first met Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj and got that instruction, and now he's boarding the ship after 43 years. So it's like Sattvarup Maharaj was putting it, it's a lifetime of preparation for this moment. So then we know it was a difficult ride across to America, and we know Prabhupada, he was keeping a diary, so we have very intimate insight in what he was going through. And so he had this, he was suffering seasickness, which is hellish, one of the worst experience man can go through, seasickness. And then we know also there were heart attacks too, and he just was suffering like anything, and he just felt that if a third one comes now, the third night, I will surely not survive. But during this night, the third night, something wonderful happened. He had a dream, and in that dream, he saw a boat, and he saw, this is Yaladuta, and he saw Lord Krishna, he saw the different avatars, incarnation, and Krishna showed him, I'm in charge of the ship. You don't have to worry. You are completely protected. So, of course, that meant everything to him, this dream. And so he woke up, and it was like a change. I can show you here, he was in his diary, writing every day, but these days, he didn't write anything because of this health crisis. You see here on the right bottom, he wrote, passed over a great crisis on the struggle for life and death. A separate statement has to be written on this crisis area. And then a wonderful miracle was also there when they came out of the Mediterranean Sea, out into the Atlantic Ocean. It was no wind. And the captain Pandya and his wife, they traveled back and forth for 40 years. And they were so very surprised. They have never seen the Atlantic Ocean like that. And they could understand it's because Srila Prabhupada is here. So they actually asked him, can you not please come back with us so we can have such a nice journey back also. So after 35 days on board, as we said on the 17th of September, Jaladuta docked at the Commonwealth Pier. Here is the exact place where Jaladuta docked. And so the ship stopped briefly in Boston, and Srila Prabhupada has to pass through US immigration and customs in Boston. You can see here Srila Prabhupada's passports that he was showing. So his visa allowed him 3 months stay. And so Captain Pandya, he invited him for a walk into the Boston harbor and into the town. So now this was the first contact Prabhupada had with American culture. And when he came back on board the ship after this walk, so he wrote a very wonderful poem, Markine Bhagavad Dharma, that means preaching Krishna consciousness in America. It was in Bengali. You see here the original, his handwriting. So this was the day after, 18th of September, he wrote this poem. Many wonderful shlokas, very, very devotional, very touching when you read them. I just selected now 4 because we don't have much time. So I will show you. This is what Prabhupada felt after he came back from this walk in Boston. Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for transcendental, no taste for that transcendental message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I'm very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore, I'm seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I'm powerless to do so on my own. Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it's up to you to make me success or failure as you like. And now we come to the last verse. O Lord, I'm just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, O Lord, make me dance as you like. And then he signed it. You can see here, sign the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, United States, America. So it was 18th of September. So it's very wonderful if you reflect a little about it. Prabhupada didn't write this, we can say, for the world. It was a private letter to Krishna. this was how he felt. He saw the culture and he felt helpless. How can I do it? How is it possible? And he was just giving himself completely at the mercy of Krishna. Later on, this was found and published by Krishna's grace and arrangement. But this is actually how we should pray. Before we go through some difficulties, which we all are doing, time to time in life, there is always challenges, sometimes more severe, some not so severe, but challenges are there daily, I guess. So this is a mode. This is the devotion, how one takes shelter, how one is crying for the mercy of the Lord. And because of that, Prabhupada could become an instrument, and so many wonderful things happened. He could be an instrument for Krishna's mercy, Panchatattva's, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. So from when Prabhupada arrived now in Boston, September 65, if we move ahead to 1973, when he came to Sweden, it was 8 years. From September 65 to September 73, 8 years. And it was amazing what happened during those years. No problem. So many things happened, and it went fast. Hayagriva Prabhu, one of his early disciples, he wrote a book entitled The Hare Krishna Explosion. And it was really like an explosion. In 8 years, it was just spreading all around the world in an amazing way. So what I have done now, I'm just showing shortly some events, how it was spread around the world. And then we will come to speaking about the first Swedish disciples who joined Prabhupada's ISKCON. And then the week when Prabhupada came to Sweden, what was actually happening during this week. So I think we have a little more time. So we could just look on some of the achievements of Prabhupada. So very historical date was the 19th of September, Prabhupada arrived in New York. But he actually left more or less immediately for Butler, Pennsylvania. Srila Prabhupada was sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Agarwal. It was like a testing ground, as it says here, for Prabhupada. He saw that they could understand his language or his accent. He could reach to them. He was seeing the American culture, coming close to this family. You see, he was with their son, and he was cooking for them. And just imagine the mercy they got for this 1 month he stayed with them in Butler. I will show you now a short, again, film clip. It's Mr. Sally Agarwal, who is speaking about her remembrance from that month that when they had Prabhupada in their home.
Bhaktivedanta Swami first stays in Butler, Pennsylvania, in the home of a friend's son, Gopal Agarwal, and his wife Sally.
The Swami was a friend of my husband's father, Mr. Agarwal, in Agra, India. And he asked me to sponsor the Swami, and that's what I did. And that's why he came to our house in the middle of the night one night. He stayed with us for a month in Butler. And I learned, over the time, I learned to love him as I would a father-in-law. He was a very sensitive and kindly type of person. He was indeed one of the most unusual men I've ever known in my life. The Swami came with so few possessions. He came with the clothes he had on his back. He had a typewriter and he had his books. And he had a bag of cereal. Imagine coming to a country on the other side of the world with so little, and yet he came with so much in himself. The Swami brought a pan with him in which he cooked his food, and in fact cooked our lunch too. Our little boy was only 6 months old when he came, and so the Swami was there when Bridge first stood, and he laughed and laughed to see him stand up. When he laughed, he was just oceanic. He just seemed to take in the entire universe when he laughed, and he laughed a lot. I enjoyed my association for that 1 month with him about as much as I've enjoyed anything in my life.
So it's very wonderful to hear her experience of the association with Prabhupada. Like she said, he was a very kind and sensitive kind of person. And he was also laughing a lot. He was so personal. He came so close to the family. So this is a wonderful character of Prabhupada. He had this very human nature, very wonderful qualities, but at the same time, so deep, so serious. His aim was just to please his Guru Maharaj. But at the same time, he could relate to anyone. And like she said, that month, it was like one of the most important things in her life. So it's wonderful to see the quality of a pure devotee and how he touched them like that. So Prabhupada, after this, he went to New York City, and this autumn and winter, he was like struggling alone. And he was living temporarily with people who were sympathizing with him at the yoga studios, artist lofts, different places like that. And but then in March 1966, they found this storefront, 26 Second Avenue. And there Prabhupada started to have Bhagavad Gita lectures, something like this, I think, in size, this room here, 26 Second Avenue. People started to come regularly for kirtan, for hearing Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada also took them out to Tompkins Square Park, where they were also chanting publicly. So that was also a very important step. And then in July 66, Srila Prabhupada, as we see here, he incorporated ISKCON in New York. And also he had, you see here, International Society of Krishna Consciousness. He also had the first initiation in 1966 in the autumn. And then he went to San Francisco. And few disciples had opened a storefront there. So, and they actually had a Ratha Yatra. It's a wonderful story. You see to the left, the picture there is from the first Ratha Yatra in San Francisco. They had carved this beautiful Jagannath Subhadra Baladev deities. They simply had a simple lorry, and they had little kirtan, little prasadam distribution. So this was the first Ratha Yatra. A few years later, you see here in the background, it had actually become like a public holiday in San Francisco, the Ratha Yatra. And so, as we spoke about previously, when Prabhupada was just a small child, he had his Ratha Yatra in Calcutta. So here now, just a few years later, after he came to America, this is manifesting. So Prabhupada then opened temple in Los Angeles, Seattle, Montreal, Santa Fe, New Mexico. In 1968, he opened New Vrindavan, like the first farm community. And the first temple in Europe, it was opened in London in 1969. And then he went to different countries in Europe. There are 44 countries in Europe, and he visited 7. So that was England, and also France, Germany, Holland, Switzerland, Italy, and Sweden. So he also went during this period to South America, Mexico, Africa, and India. And then he also visited Moscow in 1971, which is also a wonderful story. I could speak a lot about that, but I just show you like this shortly. And then he started to build the major temples in India. Like Mayapur, we see here in the background, the new Mayapur temple manifesting, or the Vrindavan temple to the left, or the Hare Krishna land at the Yuva beach to the right. So in this way, we can understand from Shastras, from the scriptures, that Prabhupada, he was empowered. We have this verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kali Kalera Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtan, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tara Pravartan. So the translation is that the fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. And unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate this Sankirtan movement. So in this way, Prabhupada was a Shaktavesha avatar. According to the Vedas, one who has extraordinary spiritual abilities. He has Krishna Shakti. Krishna is using that person for his service. And generally it's known as a Shaktavesha avatar. So many times when we hear avatar, we think about that's God. But sometimes it refers to an individual empowered like that by God, who is enacting on the mission of the Lord. And actually, in Prabhupada is mentioning in Bhagavatam that Prithu Maharaj, from Bhagavatam, possessed the Shakti for God-conscious administration. He was an expert ruler, administrator. And the 4 Kumaras, they were possessed the Shakti of transcendental knowledge. So they were also Shaktavesha avatar. And Narada Muni, he was the Shaktavesha avatar for devotional service. And also mentioned that the Lord Buddha is an avatar, and also the Acharya speaking about that Lord Jesus Christ and Muhammad also Shaktavesha avatars. So Prabhupada, during this period from 1965 to 1977, when the Sankirtan movement spread all over the world, was according to the predictions, it shows that he was definitely empowered. Shaktavesha avatar. So this was like the first part of my presentation. And I could go on a little more, but I think also we have been going on now for 1 hour or a little more. So I'm just in your hands if you want something more. Otherwise, also tomorrow in Lund temple, we will continue.
For the second part?
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to hear a little more, say a little more, or should we just stop here?
Emma, sorry.
Yeah, however you wish. I can stay.
I mean, we will come to Lund tomorrow.
Yes.
We will.
Everyone is invited tomorrow, 2:00 in Lund, Govindas Lund. It is continuing the second part. Everyone is welcome. And today, if someone has question or want to know a little more,
Yes.
we can explain.
Any questions, any thoughts, any reflections on what you have heard or seen so far? Madhavapur Prabhu, you have...
Skulle vi ta andra delen också?
How long it would take? 1 more hour,
Okej.
or actually even a little more.
Det hade ju varit väldigt trevligt.
Men kommer inte du imorgon?
Jag vet, kanske det.
Det får du hoppas då.
Men okej. Bestäm dig.
Men for me, you can go on.
Emma, what do you think? Should I show a little more, or?
Yeah, I think if it is something important, you think we need to know more.
We need to
the
know
second
everything.
part. Yeah.
But I mean, if it's 1.5 hours tomorrow, maybe you can take 15 minutes more, and you have 1
Okay.
hour and 15 minutes tomorrow.
Okay, 15 minutes more?
Yeah.
Should we go for that?
Yeah.
I should look for it here now. So the first Swedish devotee who joined ISKCON was a lady, and it was in 1969 in London. She is, you see a photo, Prabhupada giving a lecture. She is on the left, on the very left, with the sari sticking up a little. Thank you.
Lilla Shakti.
Lila Shakti.
Yes. Swedish girl.
With the light, sorry.
Och hennes syster sen senare kanske.
Actually, her Swedish name is Lena Engvall. So she joined 1969 in the summer, and she was only 18 years old at that time. So I will shortly tell you the story, how she joined. So one day in the spring of 1969 on the Swedish radio, she heard the Hare Krishna mantra. And she was really deeply affected by that. It was George Harrison who had produced this record together with the devotees in London, and it was on the top of the pops in Europe and I think around the world. Became very popular, so the Hare Krishna mantra was heard in the Swedish radio. And she just thought for herself, I must find out what was this I have heard. It was so special. So shortly after that, actually she's one of 3 triplets. And they all became devotees.
What do you mean 3 triplets?
3 girls.
3 trillingar.
Did she have that?
Trillingar.
Hon fick trillingar?
No, she's one herself of
Okay.
3 triplets.
Okay.
And they were born and raised in, you see here, outside Sundsvall. And here we see George Harrison and the record they produced, she heard. So her parents had a farm outside Sundsvall. And, oh, you were born in Sundsvall. Wonderful. So, which year you were born there? Which year?
62.
62. Wonderful. So she got a job as an au pair in London with one of her sisters. So the first day in London, they just went for some sightseeing, and on Oxford Street, they met the Hare Krishna chanting party, so London's Harinam party.
And that was 1969.
1969 in the summer.
There in London.
You were there in London, 1969.
But I never met her. But
Yeah.
I saw the moon landing in 1969
Okay.
in London.
Yeah,
Supposed to be. But I'm so sorry I didn't meet them.
yeah. So they met the devotees, and the devotees invited them to a program that was going to be held, I think, 3 days later at the Conway Hall. And Prabhupada was going to speak. And here you see a couple of photos from that program. So they went there, and Prabhupada was speaking. And Lila Shakti, or Lena, when Prabhupada spoke, he was very serious, and she felt a little like uncomfortable. She almost felt like some fear that it seems to be so serious, it seems. So, but then something happened that changed actually everything. So it was at this time Shama Sundar, one of Prabhupada's the first disciples, with his wife, what's her name now? Malati. Shama Sundar Malati. They had a little daughter, Saraswati. And Prabhupada became like a grandfather for little Saraswati. You can see here this photo, Prabhupada with Saraswati. You see Malati on the left side there in the background. She could walk into Prabhupada's room whenever she liked. And he was very, one can say, affectionate to her, always gave her prasadam directly from his hand and like that. So in the middle of the lecture, suddenly little Saraswati was running into the stage in front of all the people. Prabhupada, he was completely relaxed. He just started to relate to her in front of all the people. He didn't become disturbed. So many people here, disturbing my lecture. Not at all. He was completely relaxed. Just related to her. And when Lila Shakti, saw that side, her heart melted. She saw he's so kind-hearted, but at the same time so deep and serious. She really could see this combination, and that changed her heart. And Prabhupada even started to play with little Saraswati on the stage. So then after the lecture, there was a roaring kirtan. We see here Prabhupada was dancing with the devotees, and they were just swept away in this ecstasy, in this kirtan, and they received some prasadam, and Lila Shakti told that after they had to go home, but they were just dancing, chanting all the way to the subway and into the subway cart, and then all the way home. And after some time, when they finished their jobs as au pairs, she joined the temple. She was the first. But all the sisters actually joined. One of them were in the Indriani. And Prabhupada told that story that at one point at the Bury Place temple, the first temple in London, all the three sisters were cleaning Prabhupada's room. Looking the same, Swedish blonde girls with blue eyes. And Prabhupada, he was so amused when he saw that. They were all cleaning very enthusiastically his room. So that's a little about Lila Shakti. I can also mention, 1970, it was a big rock festival in Mantorp outside Linköping, the Festival of the Midnight Sun. And devotees went there, and she came along with them. And she, Lila Shakti, was very shy, but they asked her to speak from the big stage at the rock concert. And that she did. So that was like the first, I guess, public speaking of a Hare Krishna devotee in Sweden, 1970.
I have never met her. She lived in Alvik or in Korsnäs or something.
She lived in London. She was actually head pujari for Shri Shri Radha London Ishvara for many years. And now she's living a little more on the side, but she is a wonderful devotee.
Still in London?
Yes.
Yeah.
So next I would like to speak about Smita Krishna Swami, born and raised in Helsingborg, not so far from here. And he was he has 3 brothers. He's the youngest of 3 brothers. You see him here in the middle down. And so in the summer of 1969, the same summer as Lila Shakti joined, Smita Krishna Swami, he went to Hamburg. He was 70 years old. And you see here from Hamburg, or from Helsingborg to Hamburg, and here you see a photo Maharaj from this time. So in Hamburg, one day he met the devotees also chanting in the street. And that also touched him very much, very deeply. So he went back to school, to the gymnasium in Helsingborg, but he never forgot these monks in the street. He was thinking, I want to go back, I want to meet them again. He actually thought, I want to join them, I want to be one of them. He thought like that. So next summer, 1970, he went back and he found the devotees after some times, and he joined the temple. And here you see the transformation, how he, when he joined the temple as a young brahmachari, he was in the streets, chanting and helping with different services. To the right on the top here is from his second initiation. He got the first initiation in June 71, and just 3 months later he got the second initiation, October 71. And he also started to translate the first book. He got the name Smita Krishna Das. He started to translate into Swedish the first book together with Ajit Prabhu. They connected, he was in Australia at this time. So Krishna Allglädjekälla, Finn, Swedish book, the first publication. And when Prabhupada then came to Sweden, September 73, most of the German devotees came up to Stockholm. Smita Krishna Swami was one of them, and met Prabhupada there, and after that he just stayed, because he was Swedish, or is Swedish. So next I would like to present for you Vegavan and Ajit Prabhu's. I will show you its class photo from 1963, when they met. They were 15 years old in Västerås. And you see them there on the top row to the left. They were in the primary school, 9th grade, Jakobsbergsskolan in Västerås. So they really connected with each other, became very good friends, did everything together, And later on, they became students at the Uppsala University. They were studying economy, philosophy, psychology, and like that. They lived together in Uppsala, but they were really looking for something deeper. They were really looking for some deeper truth in life. So they decided to take some break from their studies, and they decided to travel to India by land. So that they did. And at this time, they were living more like a hippie life. They were very much into music. You see here a photo from the road when they were singing, playing. And there is an interesting story how they got in contact with Prabhupada through the Bhagavad Gita. It was on the way to India in Afghanistan. They were in some youth hostel, and they were discussing philosophy. And one American man was there, and they were speaking about Bhagavad Gita. And this American man, he said, actually, I have the real Bhagavad Gita. And then he took up Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. And it was this, what you call it, shorter version of Bhagavad Gita, the first edition, not the full version. So he said, you can borrow it and read it. So they were very inspired by this Bhagavad Gita by Prabhupada. They were very impressed. They could understand that some people are actually really living out to this. And so then he wanted it back. But then something happened that they could keep it. This American man, he was also a drug dealer. So the police was after him. And suddenly, one night there, the police came and he just had to escape. And so they were left with the Bhagavad Gita. And then interesting is when they came a little close to India, in Pakistan, the same thing happened. They again were in some hostel, and this man showed up. And he said that, I want my Gita back. And then again, the police was after him, and he had to escape. And at this time, they could keep that Bhagavad Gita. I was visiting Bhagavan Prabhu not so long time ago, and he showed me that Bhagavad Gita. He still has it.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I have a suggestion. It's very unique to have Prabhu here, and this is so interesting, so much nectar. I would propose, maybe you have something to say, that Lord Chaitanya is very merciful, so if we just skip the Gora Artik, we chant the Damodar Stakam offer, at the same time we can do the Artik for the altar, and somebody will take and do the offering of the Boga in the kitchen to Krishna Gornitai. This is my proposal. This way we can save up more time for Prabhu.
Emma, you are in charge?
Sounds reasonable to you also.
Yeah, I'm completely flexible.
What do you mean? Are you going to take the whole thing today then? Is that what you mean?
Well, as long as it takes. We do the Damodar Stakam when Prabhu is finished. At the same time, so one of you can offer the Boga in the kitchen to Shishi Gornitai.
Okay.
And we do the Artik. We end after Damodar Stakam, we chant Hare Krishna, do Shinga prayers. And that's so in this way we get a little more time for Prabhu's presentation.
Yeah.
Settled.
Okay.
Jai.
Does that mean I should continue a little now, or should we? Yes?
It does.
You just give me a sign, tell me when I should stop. I continue.
Emma, do you think it's a good idea?
Yeah, for me it's okay. Just Zarina want to go, and I don't know how time they
No, I
have.
need to go 4:30. 5 o'clock. I have a birthday party.
Okay.
They have Lund.
Then you can go to Lund and hear the rest.
Tomorrow you come.
Tomorrow you can come to Lund and listen to the rest.
Yeah,
Whatever you miss.
yeah.
So, yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
But tomorrow in Lund we also have our Govardhan Puja.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're celebrating that also.
I have to listen with Varuna Prabhu about how much time we should take.
So maybe you cannot do 2 hours there.
I don't think so.
That speaks in favor of him doing all rest here too.
That's true. That's true. I mean, for me, I have all the time in the world.
Okay.
Let's continue.
Okay, I continue.
Yes.
So they went to India, and after that to Indonesia and Australia. And in Australia, well, here is the Bhagavad Gita. In Australia, in Sydney, actually they met devotees for the first time. They were living in some hippie community. You see here, Bhagavan down to the left. And he met his future wife, Padmavati, there. So they met the devotees, and it was Bali Mardan and Upendra who had opened a center in Sydney. So Ajit, he seriously was thinking about, he wanted to join the temple. And actually in October 1970, Ajit moved into the temple in Sydney.
Why were they in Sydney?
They were traveling around.
Oh, that's why.
Yes. And so he became the treasurer in the temple. And he actually offered to take his money he had for traveling to invite Prabhupada to come and visit the Sydney temple. So they were working on that to invite Prabhupada to Sydney. So in the meanwhile, Bhagavan and Padmavati, they went to India, and they wanted to meet the devotees in India. So they went to Mumbai, and there the devotees were busy preparing for an 11-day Pandal program at Cross Madan, famous festival. It was, you see here, from March 25th to April 4th. And they met Prabhupada. They were living in a little flat in Mumbai. And it was so personal, Bhagavan told me, they could walk into Prabhupada's room anytime, speak with him as much as they liked. And so Prabhupada came up with that idea that in one of the days here at the festival, they should have an initiation ceremony. And then he came up with the idea that actually Padmavati and Bhagavan could be married on stage. So that was Prabhupada's idea. So I will show you here now a photo from the initiation and marriage ceremony. Bhagavan and Padmavati there, with a few other devotees.
And that was 1971?
1971, yes.
And they're still married?
They're still married.
More than 50 years. That's fantastic.
So I found a unique film clip I will show you now. It's Giriraj Maharaj who's speaking. He was present during this time. And he speaks about the marriage ceremony. It's very short. The quality is not very good, but I think it's very interesting.
Then one evening, Srila Prabhupada had a ceremony on stage, a marriage. So the marriage featured Bhagavan from Sweden and Padmavati from Australia. And they were married with the proper Vedic fire ceremony in front of 20,000 people. Srila Prabhupada declared, "This is the real United Nations." And the whole audience began to cheer and clap, thousands of people.
So it was 20,000 people every night during these 11 days. So after the initiation and marriage, Vegavan got the offer to be the servant of Prabhupada for a few weeks, and he happily accepted that. So they went to Malaysia, and then they went to Australia. And here they arrived now in Sydney, 9th of May 1971. And as we spoke about before, Ajit had, with other devotees, had invited Prabhupada. So they were eagerly waiting, and now Vegavan comes together with Prabhupada. So that was quite...
With Padmavati also.
Actually, Padmavati, for different legal reasons, I don't know, with a visa or something like that, she had to stay in Mumbai. She couldn't come at this time. So next day there were a deity installation and of the Radha Gopinath deities there, and also initiation of Ajit. And I show you now again a unique film clip from this time. You will see now Prabhupada arriving here. There's no sound here. Here Prabhupada arrives at the Sydney temple, and you see also Vegavan there in the background. And here the next day they're preparing for this initiation ceremony and installation of Radha Gopinath. Prabhupada is performing Abhishek for the deities. Here's Ajit Prabhu chanting japa. So then there was the initiation ceremony, and we see here Ajit Prabhupada was chanting on his beads, took his time, and then he gave him the name Ajit, the servant of the unconquerable Lord, it means, Ajit. So at the time before he gave him the beads, Prabhupada was asking about Sweden. He asked how was the people, how was the climate, and he showed some real interest for Sweden. So Vegavan also at this time he got the second initiation. Not long after this, Ajit was married to Krishna Premi. You see here the marriage ceremony. And now we come closer to where they're really seriously planning to go to Sweden.
Did she also come from Australia?
Krishna Premi comes from Australia. Okay. And we had in September in Almexgård, we had a reunion. Around 10 of those devotees who were present when Prabhupada was there in 1973 came, and she was one of them. Very wonderful to meet her again. So, yeah, she's really Kirtaniya. So Ajit Prabhu, he sent a letter to Srila Prabhupada on the 24th of December 1972, on Christmas. And he got a reply on the 4th of January 1973. And here you see the original letter, and here you see also what Prabhupada wrote. I'm very, very happy to note that you want to go back to your native place of Sweden, along with your good wife and some other Swedish boys, devotees from Germany and other places, for opening our center there. That is a very good proposal. I think that Krishna does try to start something before in Stockholm, but he could not do anything. His wife Indrani Dasi is a Swedish girl, and she has got two sisters. That's the triplets now we're speaking about. She has got two sisters who are also our disciples in London. So you may correspond with them whether they can assist you in some way. I think Vegavan is also there in Australia. He's also a Swedish boy. Maybe he can assist you as well. It's just so wonderful that he's so aware of who are Swedish disciples. The three sisters and Vegavan. And now the last part of the the letter, I'm coming to Australia by 1st of February, so we may discuss it further when I should come there. Or if you have got plans for immediately going to Sweden, then you may go. I shall be very happy if you will open one center there on behalf of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thank you for desiring to help me in this way, hoping this finds you in good health. Forever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So Srila Prabhupada, he came there in February to Sydney, and Ajit and Krishna Premi, they met Prabhupada in his room. They had a long talk with him, and Prabhupada very much encouraged them to go to Sweden. So after that meeting in February, they went to Mayapur, Krishna Premi and Ajit. They bought paraphernalia for opening one center in Stockholm. They bought dhotis, saris, kuntimalas, japamala, and so on and so on. And then on the 3rd of April 1973, they came to Sweden, to Västerås, and they lived with Ajit's parents, you see here. They had a villa outside Västerås, Kurt and Anna Fentner. Very kind-hearted people, so they received them very nicely, and they lived in the guest room in the house, and Ajit Prabhu, he said that actually became the first Swedish temple, their guest room. So then they were going to learn to distribute books. So then they went to Hamburg, from Västerås to Hamburg, and in Hamburg they met Smita Krishna Swami, and Bhagavan and Padmavati came there too. So for a few weeks they learned the art of distributing books. And during this time, the Swedish first book arrived from the printer to the address of Ajit's parents. And they were a little surprised, so many books. I think it was 25,000 copies. And they didn't know where should we put them, so they stored them in the garage. So that was the first book lager. So then they borrowed a Volkswagen bus from the German Jatra, and they went back to Sweden, and they traveled around Mälaren, camping. They had tent, and now they were distributing this first book. They had Harinams. Here you see the first book. But at the same time, they were focusing on trying to find a house in Stockholm. They wanted to rent a house in Stockholm. So they were both doing Harinam, book distribution, but also looking for a house. And they found a house. You see here, a little north of Stockholm, in Spånga. And here you see a photo of the house. So they transferred it into a temple. And then Ajit wrote this news to Srila Prabhupada. I had rented this house. So he wrote on the 28th of June, and he got a reply 11th of July, 2 weeks later. And Prabhupada, he wrote, you see the original letter here, the envelope also. Prabhupada wrote, "It's encouraging to me that you are in Stockholm trying to open a center, 6 of you including your wife. From your letter it appears you have found a nice place for a center there. Yes, we can use everything in Krishna's service, and when Krishna gives us a nice big house, that does not mean we use it for our eating and sleeping, but we work harder in his service." So now we come to the point when Prabhupada is actually coming to Sweden. So it was...
There's a famous photo of Prabhupada is outside that house with all the devotees, right?
Yeah, we're coming to that soon.
Joy.
I just make a little adjustment here.
Intressant att höra en bakgrund. Intressant att höra bakgrund. Det är liksom connecta med Prabhupada.
Just look over the keys. Yeah, okay.
So it was on Wednesday, Prabhupada arrived, September 5th. And according to the Vaishnava calendar, it was a special day, a holy day. Do you remember, do you know which day it was? It was actually Radhastami. Srimati Radharani's appearance day. And Prabhupada had given a lecture in London in the morning in front of Shri Radha Londanishvara. This lecture is recorded, you can hear Prabhupada speaking about Srimati Radharani. And then it took a 2-hour flight to Arlanda Airport in Stockholm. And in the evening news, in the television evening news, in Rapport, there was a short reportage about Prabhupada's arrival. And we will now see a short film clip when Prabhupada is arriving, how he walks down the stairs.
That's Arlanda.
This is Arlanda. He comes with Shrutakirti Prabhu, his servant, Pradyumna, the Sanskrit scholar. Here Smita Krishna Swami gives him one garland. And this looked like a temple, but actually it's the whip launch in Arlanda Airport. They brought Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasan here. And here he met the Swedish press and television. And Prabhupada gave an arrival address. So what I have done now is that I took out 4 or 3 sound clips from that arrival address, short clips, so you can hear what Prabhupada said. I also put the text there so it's more clear. So we will hear Prabhupada's own words. And so it's coming here.
I thank you very much for your kindly receiving me. This is the first time I am coming in this country, Sweden. This Krishna consciousness movement is spreading all over the world gradually. It is little difficult to understand the purpose of this movement because it is completely on the spiritual platform. Generally, people do not understand what is spiritual platform.
So I guess we all can relate to this when we try to introduce Krishna consciousness to another person, that it's a little difficult to understand. And like Prabhupada says here, because it's completely on the spiritual platform. Narottam Das Thakur, he says, Goloka Premadan Harinama Sankirtan. That this Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually directly imported from the spiritual world. So now Prabhupada will continue and he will speak about then what is required if we want to understand what this moment is.
First of all, we have to understand this distinction between the spirit, soul, and this material body. If we can understand what is that spirit for, then we can understand what is the spiritual movement. What is the spiritual life? Complete freedom. Complete freedom. Eternity, blissful, and full of knowledge. That is spiritual life. Completely distinct from this bodily concept of life. Spiritual life means eternity, blissful life of knowledge. This material life means non-permanent, ignorance, and full of misery.
So Prabhupada is himself asking that question, important question, what is actually spiritual life? What is it? And what was his answer? You remember? Complete freedom. You see here, he's repeating it twice, complete freedom. And then he is also speaking about what it means, complete freedom, eternal life, full of knowledge and bliss. And he says completely distinct from material life, which means non-permanent, full of mysteries and ignorance. So now the last sound clip from the arrival address. Prabhupada comes to a very practical point, as he always did, that what we do if we want to, or there is a process, Prabhupada speaks about there is a process, practical process, if we want to realize this. So we hear Prabhupada now again.
There is process how to understand. The process is very simple. If we chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it is not very difficult task. There are only 16 words. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Actually there are 3 words, Hare Krishna and Rama. So we are simply requesting the people that he chant this mantra. It is not very difficult. And if you chant this mantra, then gradually your heart will be clean. The whole thing is that due to our material association, we are contaminated, cannot understand what is spiritual life. But if we take advantage of this mantra, then gradually our heart will be clean and we shall be able to understand that I am not this body, I am spirit soul. Then real awakening will come.
Hi, Prabhupada.
So after this arrival address, they drove Prabhupada 30 minutes drive from Arlanda to the Sponga temple. And Prabhupada, you see, he lived upstairs where you see the balcony. He had his room there. Madhavapuri Prabhu, he spoke about the group photo outside the temple, and you will see it here. So.
Who were all these people, in Stockholm?
Most of them are from Germany, but also some from Holland, France, Italy, and up on the left there you see Adit, and then Vegavan, Smita Krishna Swami, Shrutakirti Prabhu, Vajjanath Prabhu, Satchinandana Swami. Satchinandana Swami's brother is Vajjanath Prabhu. Dirashanta Swami and...
where is Satchinandana Swami?
I don't think... You don't see Satchinandana Swami here, maybe now.
Oh, now I see him. I see him now.
Where do you see him? Where?
Other pillar to
Other
the right.
pillar, yeah.
Looks like him.
Med det orangea kläder.
Okay.
Där uppe.
Okay. So, Prabhupada was so amazingly active. So in the morning, as I said, he gave a lecture at Radhastami in the London temple. He gave this arrival lecture, and then he met the Indian ambassador quite shortly after his arrival to the Sponga temple. The Indian ambassador during this time was Mr. Damodar, And they had a very interesting talk. And one thing is they were speaking about a secular state. And Prabhupada gives his definition. But what is actually a secular state? So we can...
Secular state means neutral to any kind of religion. But it is the duty of the government to see that people are religious. Not that because government is secular, let the people go to hell. No, that's true. Yes. If you are Muslim, it is my duty as government to see that you are actually acting as a Muslim. If you are a Hindu, then it is the government's duty to see that you are acting as a Hindu. If you are a Christian, it is the government duty. You cannot give up religion. Dharme na hina pasubhi samana. If people become irreligious in the name of secularism, then they are simply animals. So it is the government duty to see that the citizens are not becoming animals. That is secularism.
So very, very clear. Haribol. Aruna Prabhuki. I have a question in regards to prasadam. Those who have to leave now, is there any prasadam for them? Outside?
What is it about?
Could you ask Emma to come here?
Yes.
I'm just concerned that they don't leave and there is no prasadam.
Matajama is a little bit busy now.
Pardon?
Matajama is a little busy at work currently, right? Matajama. She's a little busy at the kitchen.
She's in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So those who are leaving, they receive some prasadam. Yes. I'm not sure if we should go on. If this is now, for some, I mean, you have other duties and obligations, and some wants to go on, but some have other things. And it's still quite some time to go. So, Madhavapur Prabhu, what do you think? Maybe we should
Do the Namodarastakam and
yes.
and then a prasad.
Actually, if I just take one more step, then we finish with the first day. The 5th of Prabhupada met a couple of other persons. I mentioned about that, and then we chant Damodarastakam.
Okay.
So he met, after he met Mr. Ambassador, so he met one Swedish scholar, Carl Sunesson, Swedish Indologist and Sanskrit professor at Stockholm University. And you see a photo of him here. Around that time, he was only 32 years old when he met Prabhupada. And he was an interesting person because he knows so many languages. He knows Sanskrit, Bengali, Hindi, Tamil, Chinese. And so we will hear him now asking Prabhupada about the Chaitanya tradition.
You belong to the Chaitanya?
Yes. Yes. We have translated Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes. So you know Bengali?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
It sounds with Hindi and Bengali, Tamil.
That's right.
Yeah, do you recite this also, Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Do you think you could do it with you?
Yes.
I would be very interested.
Yeah. Jaya Jaya Mahaprabhu Sri Krishna Chaitanya Tahar Charanasrita Sei Varadhanna Purbe Gurvadi Chai Tatte Kohila Namaskar Guru Tatta Kahiyachi Eve Pacher Vichar
So as we heard, Dr. Carl Suneson, the professor, he asked Prabhupada to chant some shlokas from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So here we heard 2 shlokas, but actually Prabhupada, he chanted 57 shlokas for the professor.
Oh.
And so it was from this chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita about Panchatattva, Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. And you see here the shlokas Prabhupada recited. So after some time, when they were speaking, he was asking about, the professor asked, do you perform kirtans? And Prabhupada said yes. And then Prabhupada arranged, so they had a kirtan. Different devotees came and they were chanting and the professor were listening like that. And then Prabhupada said after that, so you are a bhakta? He said to the professor, you are a bhakta? And he said, well, I'm interested in many things. I find many things fascinating, but I cannot say I'm a bhakta. And then Prabhupada said, but you asked for kirtan. There are so many scholars, and they are not interested in kirtan. You are interested in kirtan. You are a bhakta. So he was like encouraging him like that. And then and he also said, did you like the kirtan? Yes, he said, it's very unusual for Sweden. And then Prabhupada very directly, he said, kindly cooperate with us. Kindly cooperate to help us overflood Sweden with Krishna consciousness. Such a bold preaching. You are educated, you are professor at the university, your word will be much more powerful than our words, Prabhupada said. So the professor didn't directly answer to that, but he asked, can one order these books? He was interested in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And after some time, he also asked Prabhupada, do you sing some bhajans, some hymns? And Prabhupada said, yes, certainly. And then Prabhupada, he took out his harmonium and he started to chant one of his favorite bhajans, Hari Hari Vifale. And then he also translated that to the professor. And he got so much mercy. And then after that, Prabhupada gave him his garland. He received some prasadam, and then he left. And after that, Prabhupada met a group of Buddhists. This is not from that occasion, I just found these photos of from Buddhists, but they came to meet Prabhupada. So that was the first day, the 5th of November, no, it's September 1973.
Was that the only time he was in Sweden?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was planning to come back.
Yeah.
I will show you tomorrow. He was 74, he was on his way. And but it didn't happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very nice to see you all.
Super. Thank you, Mukunda, so much.
So will it be continuous from here tomorrow?
I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe I could, make some resume
Yeah.
tomorrow for those who are new.
Yeah.
And then we come to this point where we stop here.
Very good. Sure. It feels like we are in Almvik.
In Almvik. It's amazing to speak about Prabhupada, a pure devotee. It's the natural center for all of us. And Prabhupada has saved us. And Prabhupada is a founder acharya. And he is the example and inspiration. So if we can gather around hearing about Prabhupada and what are his instructions, teachings, then we are very fortunate, isn't it?
Very fortunate.
So now the next part of the program is Shri Damodarastakam?
Yes, yes. So we have to put this away so we can...
I put the lights on now.
I don't know. Is it there or is it here? So it's nothing there.
Turn this off. Tack så mycket.
Jag som du vill. De som är lite mer
Namah Ishvaram Satchit Anandarupam Satchidananda Gokule Vrajamanam Namah Ishvaram Satchit Anandarupam Lasat Gulalam Gokule Vrajamanam Yashoda Viyolokala Vamanam Parandrisha Chanta Todrusha Gopra Yashoda Rudantam Monetrayomamliantam Karamboyayogmila Satankanetra Yomamliantam Karamboyayogmila Satankanetra Mosvasatam patere ankakanta Stitagravam damodaram bhaktivaram Sasakampate Reanta Chanta Jaya Vandamo Daram Bhaktivaya Vividik Svalila Dirananda Kunde Svagoshane Madhyakyam Akyapayantam Ananda Kunde Svagoshane Madhyakyam Akyapayantam Tadeye Shitageshur Bhaktaya Tatvam Punape Matastam Sattavrittibande Punape Matastam Sattavrittibande Varam Deva Mokshana Mokshan Vahimva Rachandyam Drineyam Varesadapiya Mokshana Mokshan Vahimva Rachandyam Drineyam Varesadapiya Idante Vapurnata Gopala Balam Sadame Manasa Virashtakimanyai Idante Vapurnata Gopala Balam Sadame Manasa Virashtakimanyai Vedante Mukambo Jamananta Lilai Vitai Kunai Lakshmiglai Rakshasha Gopyam Vedante Mukambo Jamananta Lilai Vitai Kunai Lakshmiglai Rakshasha Gopyam Osham betam bimbaraktadarame Manasa virashtam malam lakshalabai Osham betam bimbaraktadarame Manasa virashtam Namo Deva Dammodarananta Vishnu Tasida Prabodokaya Lavimanam Vipadrisidishaditinam Vatano Viyane Samagyarare Tusidrisha Vipadrisidishaditinam Vatano Viyane Samagyarare Tusidrisha Koera Madhobhakta Mojai Vajava Ayamochitau Bhakti Bhajakritasa Ayamochitau Bhakti Bhajakritasa Tata Prema Bhaktim Svakame Priyaksha Namokshe Graome Sidam Modareha Namokshe Graome Sidam Modareha Namaste to Damnes Puradipidamne Adeo Daraya Tradishasadamne Namaste to Damnes Puradipidamne Adeo Daraya Tradishasadamne Namo Radhikaya Tradiya Priyaya Namo Nantalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Namo Radhikaya Tradiya Priyaya Namo Nantalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Namami Ishwaram Satchidanandarupam Nasattunaram Gokule Brajamanam Namami Ishwaram Satchidanandarupam Nasattunarai Svignaraksasagopram Yashoda Deola Karadavamana Karandi Satsan Sato Dukagopya Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Shri Radhe. Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radhe. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Gaura Bhattarinda, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Gaura Bhattarinda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Gaura Bhattarinda. Hey, Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Gaura Bhattarinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Brahmacharya Stotara Shishimani Tuvangis Jai Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Brahmacharya Stotara Shishimani Tuvangis Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Guru Parampara Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Charya Shri Prabhupada Ki Amacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Govindanath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Dham Ki Yagyannath Puridham Ki Yagyannath Swami Ki Gangamai Ki Yamunamai Ki Tulsi Marani Ki Bhaktidevi Ki Samaveta Bhaktirinda Ki Nitai Gaura Premanande Al Aratare Shamla Deyanjena Al Aratare Shamla Deyanjena Al Aratare Shamla Deyanjena Al Aratare Shishi Guru Guranga
You sing again, please? Yes.
Ska du sjunga?
Excuse me, let's sit.
I don't know how to play harmonium. So.
No?
Somebody knows the Madonna?
I love it.
Okay. But you will sing. You sing them. You sing.
I do.
Okay. Yeah. Do it nicely.
And they have the papers.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste
Narasimhaya.
Jai. Hari Bol.